And I am live, and I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. Tonight's topic is finding joy in a joyless season. If you're here, please feel free to post your questions and comments. Please say hello. Let me know that you're here. I would like to offer a word of encouragement for those who are struggling with the holiday season. Whether it's been the loss of a loved one, a divorce, a separation, a breakup, these things can present a hard time during the holidays. And, for a long time, I struggled with the holiday season. And it's taken me years to finally get back to the point where I am embracing the holiday season once again. So I would like to start with I grew up in London, England. And back then, I can tell you, I love, especially Christmas. Christmas was my favorite time of year. And when we moved to Jamaica, I enjoyed Christmas. Christmas in Jamaica was such a special time. And I can tell you, it was just always my favorite. And then when I moved to this country, I embraced the Thanksgiving holidays. That also became a favorite. And when I became a mother and had children, I had my children, that's when I really embraced Christmas. Christmas, when you have children, is a very special time of year. There's nothing like watching your children open their presents with happiness. And that was something that I always looked forward to. Well, at the end of 2014, I remember asking my ex husband to leave, and it was right before Christmas. Well, my children were home for Christmas, and I can tell you, I still had a great Christmas because I had my children. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time. And I often think back to the Christmas of 2015. I did not know that my son Demetrius would die a month later. And I can tell you that Christmas was very special, and that memory has been a gift to me. I remember I cooked, I baked, I went all out because I knew the kids were struggling with the fact that I was divorcing their father. So I really went all out on that meal, and we had such a wonderful time. Well, after the loss of Demetrius, the holidays truly became a struggle. Now, something I learned about after the death of my son is a thing called grief and sensitivity, which I will be covering that topic. And I would like to say to those of you out there, when you are talking to someone who has lost a child, thank you, Mikey. Blessings to you too. And I appreciate you tuning in tonight. When someone has lost a loved one, what they need is understanding, and they need kindness and empathy. If those are not your gifts, then I will tell you to please, please do not even go to that person, because what you will do is make their lives miserable with your words. Because I can tell you, because I was chastised for grieving, which I still can't believe I'm even saying that. And many times it's people who are Christians who are doing this. Now, I know they may not have any ill will or any ill intentions, but I am telling you, it does a lot of damage. I found myself suppressing my grief, not acknowledging my pain, and I'd gotten to the point where I actually stopped celebrating the holidays. They were just like another day to me. And I struggled with that because I actually miss the idea of celebrating and all that comes with it. And it was just a very difficult time. I didn't understand my life, and I didn't have hope. And I went through the motions. I was on autopilot. Well, recently I read an article by Judith Zaklon. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And she talks about unresolved pain. And she says that unresolved trauma occurs when a person has experienced an overwhelming event or series of events outside of the brain's window of tolerance. Did you hear that? Outside the brain's window of tolerance. After reading that, it helped me to understand what happened to me after the death of my son. Hello, Joan. Thank you so much for joining. It was such a painful event, and I honestly did not know how to deal with it. And in suppressing it, I can't say I was any better for it. So, in this article, it gave me a better understanding because she explains that the survivor protects themselves by repressing and avoiding the disturbing emotions, trying to get over the trauma by pushing it down. But I'm here to tell you, when you don't acknowledge your feelings, emotions will become stronger. And what happens, and I can say it happened to me, it may lead to mental fatigue and stronger negative emotions and a miserable life. Hello, Aunt Sylvie. I love you too. And I would like to say that when a person is going through this, they are very vulnerable. They're very, I can't even find the words to describe it. What they need is understanding and compassion. And it's okay to talk to them and ask them, how are you feeling? Sometimes I wish people would talk about Demetrius, but I have found that not too many people do that anymore. And I'm talking about like my family. Now, I was very happy on his birthday. My sister actually called me and she talked about him. And I took comfort in that. You know, hello, Ingrid. Thank you so much for joining tonight. So it was a very difficult time, and not being honest about what I was feeling and how vulnerable I was, it was very painful. And I can tell you that, I had to be very intentional about wanting to heal. And my desire for healing is so strong. I tell you, that's what has propelled me to this point. I still have my struggles. Before I went live, I actually cried. And I wasn't crying necessarily out of sadness. Well, yes, it was out of sadness because tomorrow is Christmas. I miss my son. My children no longer live with me, so I miss them too. But I can tell you, I am embracing the season because I am at a point where I am tired of, dwelling on sad thoughts and, living in the past. What I would like to do is create new memories. And that is what I would like to say to those out there who are struggling with what I have gone through. Life goes on, but I can tell you that your memories will never go away. And it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to miss your loved one. But I can tell you, you have to do your part. And I will have to tell you this. When I moved into my apartment, which was about 5 years ago, the very first Christmas I was in this apartment, I ate leftover Chick-fil-A. Hello, Radcliffe. Thank you so much for joining. I had some leftover Chick-fil-A. I'm ashamed to say, but that was what I ate for Christmas dinner. And I remember I sat and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I remember telling myself, I don't want to do this next Christmas. So I had to be intentional. And I promised myself that I would get myself a new tree. I had an old tree, but that tree was attached to the memories of my children and my late son. So I decided I will buy myself a new tree. And I put that tree up. I bought new decorations. I did not put them up. They sat underneath the tree. I got myself a couple gifts and I bought them in Walmart. And I stuck the Walmart bags underneath the tree. And I remember saying to myself, you know what? That's a step in the right direction. Now, next year, try to put up your decorations, and maybe you should cook something this time. So that was what I did. The following Christmas, I put up the decorations and I did wrap some gifts for myself, and I actually cooked dinner. And I remember it felt good. It brought back memories of me and my children. And I promised myself then that each year I will try to do a little better. So the following Christmas, when I put up my tree, I really went out all out to decorate it and for it to look pretty. And I actually felt really, really good about that. And there's just something about unwrapping Christmas presents, even though you may know what they are, but it just gave me comfort and it helped me to just feel good about the attempt that I was making to embrace life. And I felt that, okay, each holiday, try to do a little more, try to push yourself a little bit harder. Well, on this journey, I struggled emotionally, and I think it's safe to say that I may have even had a mental breakdown. But during COVID, when we were on lockdown, I found myself really getting down into the Word of God and really learning a lot about God's love for me. And, it really helped me and it opened my heart. It opened my heart in a way that it had never been opened before. And it just helped me to understand certain things about myself. Like I've always chased love. I've always wanted love. And, I always chose the wrong men in relationships and I sold myself short. And I can tell you that, hello, Heather, thank you so much for joining. As my relationship with God developed, it helped me to have a better understanding of love. And it helped me to, just see love in a whole new way. Well, my relationship with God, it led me to developing a relationship with myself. And that was something I had never done before. And in pursuing a relationship with myself, I learned a lot of things. I learned about acceptance and healing. The desire to heal was there, but not just for me. I wanted to encourage others to take a healing journey if necessary, because that my healing journey has been my saving grace, and that is what has led to this podcast. Well, on this healing journey, I learned about boundaries. Healthy boundaries are necessary. There's a saying that hurting people hurt other people. And there are some people that honestly, you don't need to have them in your life. I have people in two categories. I've shared it on previous podcasts: safe people and unsafe people. And what I had to do is I had to leave the unsafe people behind, not with any animosity, no hatred, no bitterness. But I have to ask you this: do you think that you should be a doormat for someone? You know, what I had to learn is that I can't live someone else's life, and I am sorry that they're hurting. But at the end of the day, we are all responsible for our own emotional well being. And we have to take the necessary steps. Instead of taking it out on other people, how about taking the time to figure out, why am I so angry? Why am I so unkind to others? I came to understand that I cannot save the world. And in establishing boundaries, it helped me to have more respect for myself. And it helped me to really get to a point where I could embrace being alone, because I was afraid. I grew up with four siblings and I'm from a big family on both sides. I was always surrounded by a lot of people. And to get to the point where, where I was alone, it was very difficult at first. But I learned to embrace it. And I learned to really get a better understanding of myself. Hello, Claudia. Thank you so much for joining. So I can tell you that going through a divorce, it was a very difficult time. At first, I remember struggling, like I told myself, you're old, you're fat, you're ugly. And that's not true, but that was how I saw myself. But as I said earlier, as my relationship with God, as it really started to flow, that's the best word to describe it. I knew in my heart that I could not look back and I would not turn back. And I will never accept crumbs from anyone ever again. So that helped me to have a stronger desire to go deeper into the Word of God and to have a better understanding. So I don't know if any of you have ever read a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. Well, that helped me to put my thoughts in perspective. And I can tell you that Proverbs 2, verses 23, verse 7, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. This reminds me not to hate or allow bitterness to take over, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in anger and bitterness, especially when you're going through a divorce and you feel that you were wronged. It's like what I have had to learn is that if you are going to be in my life, it has to be because you want to be there. If you don't want to be in my life, that's fine. You don't have to be. But what I will no longer do is put myself in a situation where I am miserable and I'm sitting there figuring out, because I know it's happened to a lot of us. What did I do wrong? Is there something that I could have done better, when you did nothing at all? Because, there are some people out there who, like I said, they get a kick out of hurting others. And at the end of the day, it's a choice. We make the choices to stay in bad situations, bad relationships. There is always a choice. There is always a way out. And what I would encourage you to do is take it. Now, if you know that you are that person that is mistreating others because you're going through a difficult time, what I would like to suggest to you is that you can get counseling, you can go through therapy to have an understanding of why have you chosen to be that way with others. Because sometimes, you have parents who may have been mean to their children. So what their children do, they do the same thing to their children. The cycle continues. We all have the ability to break the cycle. Now, I would like to share with you Philippians 4, verses 12 through 13. I have learned the secret of being content in every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength. I used to hate that scripture so much, because I used to say to myself, if you're going through a bad time, how can you be content? When my son died, it was like, how can I be content? My son has died. I just felt very angry every time I heard that scripture, if I read it. But now I have a better understanding of it. It's like, life does not have to be perfect. Everything does not have to be going well. But you can still be content. You can still feel, that song, The Joy of the Lord, it is my strength. That's taught me so much. I used to pursue and chase happiness like it was a drug. And unfortunately, happiness, it's a temporary thing. It's a temporary thing. But the joy of the Lord, that's from within, and that is from God. God is not going to, There are people who they use their love to manipulate and to mistreat others. That is not how God works. And what I had to learn is that even when negative things happen, bad things may happen, like the death of my child, it didn't mean that God didn't love me. And it didn't mean that God did not love my son. It's just a part of life. So I would like to encourage you to really think about joy and what it means to you. And I would, like to say this to you. I miss my son, and his death is a deep source of sadness. It really and truly is. And I will not apologize for that, but it doesn't mean I don't trust God. It doesn't mean that I don't trust God. And yes, Ingrid, like you're saying, in every lesson there is a blessing. When a person talks about missing a loved one, if you don't want to listen, walk away. But don't be condescending to that person or make them feel like, is there something wrong with me because I'm still missing my child? Next month, it will be 8 years, which I can't even believe it's just about 8 years since I've lost my son. And something I've had to accept is that sadness will always be there. It will. It will. And that's a part of my life that I will accept. What I have gotten to, the point I've gotten to now is that I've been sad for so long and it has weighed me down. And I want to embrace life again. So that is how I am choosing to honor my son's memory, by embracing life and changing my mindset. I remember years ago when at my church we have adventurers and pathfinders, which is like the equivalent of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. And I remember as a counselor for the adventurers, I was working with them on their honors badge on happiness. And I will never forget that. I took 2 bags of lollipops to hand out to the kids after we did the honors thing that we did that day. And I remember asking those children, is happiness a choice? And every last child said yes. And I remember thinking to myself, because this was after the death of my son, and I remember thinking, these children are so young, but they get it. So, I think about that very often. And it helped me to understand that it's okay to want happiness. It's okay to want joy. Does it mean that I've moved on from the memory of my child? No. But at the end of the day, how would I be honoring if my son if I chose not to live my life? Because at the end of the day, life is a gift. It's a precious gift. Every morning when we wake up and we take that breath, it's not to be taken for granted. The more time that I spend with God and in His Word, it has lifted me up and given me hope. In life, we need celebrations and we also need upliftment. I'll say that again. We need celebrations and we need upliftment. It is so important because depression is one of those things. Once that overtakes your life, you're in a dark pit, and it's the hardest thing to get out of that dark pit. I would encourage those who are struggling to choose hope and to choose to live. I am cherishing the memories. However, I am choosing to create new memories. This is a personal journey, and everyone's journey is different. But I would like to take the time to encourage those who are really struggling to know that you're okay Take your time. Do what you have to do. Grieve as long as you have to so that your heart can heal. And for those who have these people in your life, they don't need judgment and condemnation. We have to remember that our words are powerful. We can build each other up or we can tear each other down with our words. And I would like to ask you, what do you choose? Are you choosing to build another person up or are you choosing to tear them down? If you are choosing, if you are hesitant to embrace joy and happiness, I will ask you to pray about it. I will ask you to journal because I promise you, as you write, you will find the answers. I found that prayer journaling was very beneficial for me. I would like to share 3 of the books that really helped me out this year. This book is called The Power of Prayer. It's by E.M. Bounds, and I found this on Amazon, and I do believe I paid maybe $13 for it. This book, it's very encouraging, and it's helped me a great deal. Another book, This Year I Will, and it's by Tiffany Louise. And I can tell you this book, I remember when I started doing, this was another book I found on Amazon. I think it was maybe $10, but what this book did for me, it helped me to get my thoughts out there. And this is when I started to write about how I wanted to get back into podcasting. And it really helped me. And there are points in the book where it'll tell you to look back on certain pages and it helps you to see your progress. And I can tell you it was really a blessing. Now, this book here, I really love it. 100 Days of Believing Bigger. And it's by Marshawn Evans Daniels. This book is probably like $13. This book, I enjoy doing it every morning. And I'm telling you, journaling, it helps you to get your feelings out. And it helps you to face things that may be bothering you and just helps you to get everything out. Now, this book, I think this is probably the 3rd time I brought this book. Give Thanks to the Lord. And it's a gratitude journal. This one, I think, is like maybe $6. And every day you write in it 3 things that you're thankful for. What amazed me as I have done this, it's that I'm not thanking God for material possessions. It's the most simple things that I'm very thankful for. And having that spirit of gratitude, it really is a game changer. So I would definitely like to encourage everyone to think about doing a prayer journal. It's made a difference with my devotion life in the mornings, and in the evenings I do my devotion 2 times most days. And it is my prayer that you will choose to enjoy, that you will choose to embrace peace and joy. I'm sorry if I sounded a little nervous or whatever tonight, but as I stated earlier, this time of year, I do have my struggles, but I don't want to dwell on the sadness. I want to focus on the season. This is when God gave us a gift, the gift of Jesus in this world. That is definitely something to celebrate and to be happy about. So I would like to say to those who are viewing that I can truly tell you that I have joy in my heart. I can truly tell you that I thank God for all my blessings. And yes, my son is no longer here, but I'm thankful for the 26 years that he was here. He was a gift, and I learned a lot from him. And I can tell you that all I want to do is encourage others and know that there's always hope. Please don't give up. We all go through tough times, but when we do, we need to lean on God. And I would just like to thank all of those who have been very encouraging to me, those who took the time to understand me or even try to understand me when I didn't even understand myself, when I was so broken that I couldn't even think straight. The times when I may have been sleeping maybe 3 hours a night and not eating. I did lose my way during that time. But as time went on, God helped me. He healed my heart. He healed my broken heart. And my heart was broken. And as I stated earlier, I still feel sad, but I also feel joy. So I cannot tell you that I have a joyless season anymore. For years, I did have joyless seasons of life, but now I am in a totally different place mentally. Hello, Andrew. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, if you leave with anything tonight, just remember that you can make such a difference in the world with a little kindness. Kind words go a long way. A little understanding goes such a long way. You know, Ingrid, I have to thank you for a few weeks back when I had a little struggle there. You called me and you talked to me. You know, my Aunt Sylvie, who is like a rock, my second mother, always with a word of encouragement. So if you know someone that you know they recently lost someone, maybe they don't feel like talking, but you know, it's okay to send them a text to say, I'm thinking of you, or to say, I love you. You know, words of encouragement make all the difference in the world. And I would just like to thank those of you who, like I said, you take the time to watch my podcast. It's just Christmas Eve. You could be doing other things, but you've tuned in, and I'm very thankful. I'm not going to make this an hour tonight, but I just wanted to say to the world tonight that on Christmas Eve, even with the losses, you know, my dad died a couple years ago, and I took a big lesson in that. And I have to share this real quick. You know, when my dad was dying, my mom called me and she said, you need to get in touch with your father. And I honestly didn't want to. I was upset with my dad for many reasons. And my mom said to me, I believe he's dying, Bridget. She said he's a sick old man and he is dying. And she was actually angry with me. And I reached out to my dad. And I thank God every day that my mother took the time to do that. And my mom, she divorced my dad years ago. And if anyone had reason to be upset with someone, she did. But what I learned from my mother was the power of forgiveness. You know, she wanted us to talk to our father before he passed away. In fact, she really wanted us to go and see him, but it was during COVID. So we weren't able to make that trip to see him before he passed away. My last words to my father was, I love you, Dad. And I'm so thankful that I was able to say those words to him. I am so thankful that I was able to say those words to him. If you would have told me that I would miss my dad, I would have laughed at you. But it's like my sister and I, we spoke about it recently, that we actually do miss him. And what I learned in that was that, you know, sometimes we hold on to grudges because we think we're punishing that individual, but we're not. We're punishing ourselves. As I have learned to let go of anger and bitterness and all that pain, it helped to release me to this season of joy, if that's making sense. When we hold on to anger and bitterness, we become stagnant and it's hard to move forward. It's hard to even think clearly. And we open up our body to all kinds of diseases, and we just open up ourselves to so much negativity. So if there is someone in your life that you've not spoken to a long time, think about reaching out. If you are struggling with anything, pray about it tonight. Do some journaling about it because in a week, we'll be going into a new year. How about going into the new year with a fresh start, a whole new mindset? Andrew, I would like to thank you for some of the conversations you've had with me because you helped me to have a whole new mindset. Radcliffe, you've been my friend since first form, and you've been a source of encouragement in my life. To all of those who have been there for me, I am grateful and I feel so blessed. So I can tell you, I have presents wrapped underneath the tree and I know what they are, but guess what? I will still enjoy opening those presents. Ingrid, I have an Arsenal jersey under my tree. Yes, I do. And I'm actually very excited and looking forward to wearing it. I've learned to embrace life in a new way. I have a playlist of Christmas movies that I will be watching. I have a playlist of Christmas songs I'll be listening to. And tomorrow I will make myself a nice breakfast and I will cook dinner and just embrace the season. It's a time for joy and it's a time to remember the birth of Christ and to know that there is hope. And that is what I would like to leave everyone with tonight, the message of hope. But you have to do your part. You have to be intentional. If it wasn't for being intentional, there are many days I wouldn't have been able to get out of bed and to go to work and to function. But thankfully, but I'm so thankful that I was taking the time with God in the morning because those words, they sink into my heart and they just encourage me to take another step. It's a daily journey. It's one step at a time. Because if you try to do too much, it will become overwhelming. But just being intentional and taking the time and being determined to heal, it's made such a difference in my life. So I just like to leave you with those words of encouragement. Tomorrow, as you spend Christmas with your family, enjoy every minute of it. Hug your children and take pictures. Have fun. Because I tell you, I just pray that you will never understand what it's like to look back at memories. But I am very thankful to have those memories because they bring me a lot of peace and they bring me a lot of joy. God bless you all. Thank you so much for spending Christmas Eve with me. And next week, Andrew will have a special episode, and it will be to honor the new year that's coming up. Thank you, everyone. And what I apologize for the nervousness, but this was big for me tonight. I hesitated to do it. I actually thought about not doing it. Happy holidays to you too, Sonia. I wasn't going to do it, but I just felt like I wanted the world to know that I'm in a place where I can say, I feel the joy of the Lord, and it is my strength. Blessings to you too, Heaven, to everyone that tuned in tonight. And if you watch the replay, please feel free to comment. Merry Christmas to everyone. I love you all, and God bless.